welcome back to Chin Music, our baseball show at TalkNorth.com. Happy New Year. Gentlemen, I thought we'd spend the next hour and a half just breaking down Mike Ford. I mean, that's the big news of the offseason.
It's gonna put him right over the top.
Yes. Parade routes are being planned. All right. We're actually not going to be jerks the entire show. I just thought I'd start off being a jerk. We'll talk about Mike Ford. We'll talk about Caleb Thielbar leaving. We'll talk about what we're hearing about the ownership situation. I also want to, at some point in this show, just take a look forward and look at how, given where the Twins are as an organization right now, where things are not encouraging, how could this work out? How could this end up being a good year? We'll look at that as well, and we'll wrap up the show with our off-season Booze and Blues special, as we usually do. For right now, let's just start with the basics. And by the way, this is the Chin Music Show, TalkNorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or any show at the network. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. Again, we want to thank Aquarius Home Services. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We are presented to you by OnX Hunt, ONX Hunt. And we also want to thank Minnesota Masonic Charities and Chew Vision Institute. Lineup today, Roy Smalley, former Twins All-Star, current Twins broadcaster, LaVelle E, Neal III, Star Tribune baseball guru and columnist. I'm Jim Souhan, also from the Star Tribune. All right, let's just get to the news before we get to the speculation. Mike Ford is signed. Caleb Thielbar leaves. One thing it reminded me of, gentlemen, is that all the things that went wrong last year, and mainly with the young players down the stretch, man, if Caleb Thielbar could have been healthy and as good as he has been last year, they would have won more games. No way around it. Roy, why don't you start us off with Caleb?
Well, I think your statement's really the right one. I mean, he just wasn't quite as effective as he had been for a couple of years. And in those couple of years when he was effective, he was ultra effective. And really a terrific left-hander to come out of the bullpen because he could get out hitters from both sides of the plate. And he was a real weapon for Rocco coming out of the bullpen in kind of a key sixth inning or seventh inning setup to the power guys, and it just wasn't quite the same this past year. He had a little bit of trouble getting his. He has these two breaking balls, a bigger one and a sharper one. He used those so effectively against both left-handers and right-hand hitters, and in the past. And then his fastball had gotten enough velocity that, with those two breaking balls on hitters' minds, it was clear he would really tie up people with the fastball too. And so he had been very, very effective. He'd lost command of those breaking balls where, when he really needed to go strike one, where he really needed to get back in the count with a breaking ball, he could pick one in the past and throw it in a great spot for a strike or for a swing and a miss or whatever, and just wasn't quite able to do that. And so the fastball became less effective. It was just a kind of a lack of command situation as much as anything. And you're right. The Twins really missed that effectiveness.
LaVelle, what do you think they do for left-handed relievers now?
That's a really good question because they also traded Giovanni Moran a couple weeks ago for the utility player. So their inventory of left-handed relievers is down right now. So they're going to have to come up with a lefty. They're going to have to find some. They're going to be looking for some low-cost alternative. Maybe get one back in the trade. Maybe a reunion with Danny Colum, who they've been infatuated with for the last 2 or 3 years. Who I believe actually had some success last year. I think he was with Baltimore for a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a reunion there. But they've got to get another lefty in, because they just don't have you got Funderburk and they got to come with some other options here. So but it's too bad for Caleb because he's a ran off Minnesota native, and it was a great story how he left baseball for a while, came back, went to Driveline, became the best version of himself, got his fastball up to 97, which we didn't think was possible when we first saw him, and he was able to carve out a really nice career. So, and he signed with the Cubs. So I guess go to the Windy City. Maybe he could squeeze a little more talent out of that arm for another year or so, and continue his career. But left-handed relief now is definitely a hole on this roster that the Twins have to fill, given their financial restraints. I do not expect them to bring in an impact lefty. It's going to be someone on the Danny Coulomb scale that's probably going to come in and get an opportunity to get some left-handed hitters out.
By the way, we also need to talk about that Moran trade for Mickey Gasper. We'll get that as well. Let's move on to Mike Ford. Mike Ford signed to a minor league contract, so it's not like they are committing to this guy being their guy. He had a very interesting rookie season for the Yankees, very promising, and really has been bouncing around ever since. Let's start with LaVelle on Mike Ford. Do you consider him a realistic competitor for the first base job or just organizational depth?
This does nothing for me. I don't expect anything out of Mike Ford. He's had opportunities to have a major league career, and he's 32 years old now. So my reaction when the signing was made was that this is a guy who's going to be at AAA all year and come up if someone's injured or in an emergency situation. I think right now the leaders to be first baseman is the platoon of Julian or Miranda, unless the Twins bring in another first baseman. We got to see where they're at as far as budget-wise. They want to trim about $6 to $8 million off their payroll. I wonder if it gets to a point where Falvey goes to ownership and say, "Look, can I get some more wiggle room here so I can make a couple moves, move things forward here because sitting at 130 for a second straight year where costs are going up in baseball, it's probably tough for him to do. But I think part of me believes that the starting first baseman for the Twins is not on the roster yet. That is going to happen here as we approach spring training. And you guys know how Falvey operates. Usually, January is when he's the most active and he starts finding value players and making moves and waiting to see what players come back to him market wise. So, he's got about 6 weeks here before pitchers and catchers report. And that's what I expect. This is what I expect this is his busy part of the season, in terms of transactions. So, I expect to see another first baseman come in, either someone who is going to be the everyday first baseman, which, leads to maybe moving Julian or moving Miranda, or them, throwing up their hands and going with that platoon. We'll see.
Your thoughts, Roy, on Mike Ford?
Yeah, I can't add a single thing to what LaVelle just said. So I'm going to say, yep, and yep. All
right, well, let's move on to the Moran trade for Mickey Gasper. This guy is at least intriguing. Now, he's 29 years old. He went hitless in 18 games for the Red Sox last year. But at AA Portland, AAA Worcester, he had a 970 OPS with 12 home runs. The guy hits minor league pitching. LaVelle, how do you think he fits in?
Well, it's interesting because I believe the guy catches a little bit, right?
He's a utility player who can catch.
His strong suit's not catching, but he can catch, and so this intrigues me because this could clear the road for them to move Christian Vasquez and lower their payroll a little bit. If they think Gaspar could be a guy who can help fill in behind the plate when Jeffers needs a break, or at least be a fallback plan if Yair Camargo ends up being the backup catcher this year, and Gaspar ends up looming as injury relief and plays at AAA all year and plays plenty of catching. It sounds like there's some things about his catching game that he has to clean up, and the Twins are apparently going to work on that. But that's the thing that raised my eyebrow is that they've got a little bit of an option here in case they find a taker for Vasquez, which would stun me because I can't see how many teams are going to want a defensive-minded catcher whose offense, he actually there was a stretch in the season where he was pretty functional at the plate, But overall, he's more of a defensive guy. I can't see how a team is going to take on a $10 million salary. Twins will probably have to eat about half of that to get where they want to go. But they do have Gasper now, who could help fill in the void in case the Twins do find a taker for Vasquez.
Roy, in general, what do you think the Twins should be looking for at catcher right now?
Well, first of all, I mean, they've got to make a decision. I think if they move away from and I think they're going to have to, if they move away from the 50-50 routine, 50% playing time for each of them, for each of the catchers, which they've been doing here for a couple of years, and just say, so Jeffers is our catcher now. Ryan Jeffers is gonna catch 120 or 130 games, and we're gonna find somebody else to give him a rest periodically, or are they infatuated with bringing in another catcher? Are they comfortable with Jeffers being their everyday guy? And I don't think that's, I don't know how they feel about it. I don't know that that's been decided. I don't know if it should be decided in favor of Ryan Jeffers necessarily. I don't know how they feel about saying with confidence, yep, he's our 125 game guy. So I think this Gasper deal is kind of interesting, but doesn't sound to me like it's a solution, really. They can't. It sounds to me like at this point, he is the third catcher on the team, only because he's a utility guy that can hit, come off the bench, play some other places, and then if they want to pinch hit for Jeffers, if they get another catcher, then they got a third guy. It doesn't sound. Here's the thing. I mean, if catching's not a utility guy's strong suit, he's not going to be a 50-50 playing time guy. And they may cringe about him coming in right away and playing 35 or 40 games, being expected to play 35 or 40 games. A lot can go wrong in 35 or 40 games if the catcher's not good defensively. So I think LaVelle's idea about him going to AAA and catching a lot, maybe that is at some point in time a solution. But I think before they ever get there, I think they have to decide what they think about Ryan Jeffers on an everyday basis.
Let's get to ownership possibilities and our Booze and Blues segment. I want to remind you we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, and we want to thank Aquarius Home Services.
Hi, it's Scott for Aquarius Home Services, wishing you a Happy New Year. Is your furnace hanging on by a thread or just flat out refusing to cooperate? Don't worry, winter's got nothing on us. If your furnace needs a little New Year's motivation, we're offering $98 off any furnace repair. A worry-free furnace is just a click away at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended and keeping you warm and cozy all winter long.
Also want to let you know that ice fishing is here, and it's time to hit the frozen water with OnX Fish. The Fish app is the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your confidence on ice. Use OnX Fish to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potentials. OnX Fish also shows you hot spots, lake-by-lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. For a limited time, download OnX Fish for free in Minnesota and Wisconsin, or go to onxmaps.com/fish to get more information on the app that is changing the game on ice. Also want to let you know about a Minnesota company that does great work. I hear great things about Minnesota Masonic Charities.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota, or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
Finally, we want you to hear about John Krasinski's experience at True Vision Institute.
Yeah, True Vision in Bloomington. I was talking to someone at the Timberwolves game against the Hornets, and they were asking me about it. And they had also had LASIK surgery as well. And it was, the term that we both have used, and I've used it on the show, is life changing. It really is. And you're going to roll your eyes at it. Maybe if you're wearing contacts and eyeglasses, you're going to say, yeah, right. I did the same thing. I was skeptical of it. I was like, it can't be that good. But I went to True Vision. I visited with the nicest, most friendly staff there that put me through the paces, got me to the right answer and the right option for my vision correction, and then got me to Dr. Chu, who did an unbelievable job with the surgery itself. It does make your life so much easier, not having to go in every year, every 2 years for new glasses and new contacts, spending hundreds of dollars, getting the eye exam, trying to find what's the fashionable frames nowadays. All of those things. It's a headache. And I do not have that anymore because I got LASIK at True Vision. It took me not even half of a day to recover from the surgery. And by the time I woke up the next morning, I was seeing clearly and crisply, and everything was great. So go into True Vision or go to truevision.com to set up your consultation and tell them the John Krasinski Show sent you.
All right, gentlemen. So just talking to people about the ownership situation, I'll be interested to hear what LaVelle's hearing. What I'm hearing is it's not going to be local ownership unless something really weird happens. It's going to be either the guys from Phoenix, the Ishbias, or it's going to be somebody like them, somebody who has a massive amount of money, can come in and write a check for the team. Major League Baseball doesn't have to worry about them putting together a group of 85 different people to pay the bills, and somebody who will have the money to spend on payroll if they so choose. That's what I'm hearing. LaVelle, what are you hearing?
Yeah, a little surprising that because there's been a couple people mentioned as from the area who should possibly be interested in the team, but it doesn't seem like that's transpiring. I'm a little stunned that Marty Davis isn't taking a look at this, given his love of sports and reports that several years ago, him and his brother actually quietly asked the Twins if they were available, and they were told no. But it looks like Marty's going to sit this one out, which stuns me. At least get to the point we can look at the books and then make a decision. But I think what happens is that someone from outside will own the team, and I think that there will be like a former Twins player who ends up getting like 5% ownership or something like that, or 3% ownership, just to have someone locally part of the group here, like a limited partner. That's my educated guess about how this is going to turn out. We won't know for sure. I still want to see how serious these people are after they get a chance to look at the books and see what the revenue streams are. There's a lot of good things going on for the Twins. It's actually the roster's pretty solid, wonderful ballpark with a lease agreement. But the one questionable thing is the TV deal. And do they want to wait 2 or 3 years for baseball to get its TV finances in order, or take a shot at it now? So, I believe in what Jim's saying. I think it's headed in a more of a outside ownership situation.
Now, 5% of $1 billion, and it might be 1.2, 1.5 billion, is $50 million. So you might be talking about somewhere between $50 and $100 million to own 5% of this team. Is there a former Twin that has that kind of money sitting around?
Yes, there is. There's a couple. And I actually, I couched it a little bit too. I dropped it 3% because I was doing the math in my head when I said 5. I was like, 5's a big chunk of change. There's a couple players who could afford that. We're not going to name names, but that's why I kind of couched it down a little bit to 3, because that is a chunk of change just to get a piece of a baseball team.
I think Joe Mauer would be interested.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. But here's what I would say. I'm not as surprised about Marty Davis as LaVelle is, unless, I think this is going to be for a local owner to emerge. It would be on the basis of a severely discounted price basis. If you look at where the Twins are right now, we can all be optimistic if certain things come to pass. Either Star's healthy all year, the young guys, take the next step. Royce Lewis doesn't ever go in the tank. They're going to be competitive. But if you look at, somebody that's going to look at spending $1 billion or $1.5 billion, whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I think the first thing you do, because the Twins issue is that they don't have the local TV radio revenue. They never have that other teams have. And so I think immediately the conversation is, you've got no TV and radio revenue. We're discounting it, but we don't think we're going to see any money there. That's the present value of money for the next 5 years knocks the price down to $1.5 billion, minus X. And I think a local owner has been following all this, like Marty Davis. I mean, he knows what's up. He knows what the fans think. He knows what it takes to get people in the stands or not. He knows about TV and radio money. And with that being up in the air, I just can't imagine that a local owner who, let's put it this way, the guys that you're talking about from outside, I think they're going to want to own a club for the joy of owning the club, and they're going to want to come in and be okay with spending money for a while. I don't think we got a local owner potential that would have that kind of mindset from a financial standpoint.
Agreed. LaVelle, anything else you're hearing on the ownership front?
No, that's about it. It's been pretty slow here during the holiday break here. So hopefully get some more clarity going forward. The organization believed they'd have a clear view of who are the serious bidders for the team about February or March. So we're slowly headed to that stage in the process.
All right. I think we're going to save our reasons for optimism and try to figure out how this franchise could be good this year. We'll save that for next week. For today, I do want to get to Booze and Blues. I hope people took up my recommendation of watching that interview with Skunk Baxter, also the video of Steely Dan in their prime, back in the day, playing my old school. I think it was on the Letterman show. Fantastic stuff. Anyway, for today, do either of you have a booze or a blues contribution?
Well, I've got a blues. I've got a blues contribution. But go ahead, LaVelle. If you've got booze, I'll always be interested.
Well, we missed Lamont Cranston, who performed a week ago today, at the Blue Saloon. I missed that one, so that's kind of a bummer. I just want to point out on a local scene, he's not necessarily a blues guy, more R&B. Julius Collins, who used to be the lead singer of Greasy Meal, and used to sing in Dr. Mambo's Combo for years over at Bunkers. Julius had a rough 2024 with neck and back injuries that kind of waylaid him. But he has recently gotten healthy, and he's back singing at Bunkers on Sunday nights with a different version of Dr. Mambo's Combo. So he is back on the stage. He's back singing. He has a terrific voice, great showman, very entertaining, and I think there's a plan for us to go see him in the next couple of weeks on a Sunday evening. But I just want to say it's great to hear that Julius is healthy again and back on stage doing what he does the best.
Well, that's a really good one. Julius is a great guy and a great singer, and Dr. Mambo's Combo is fantastic. So that is a fantastic contribution. Roy, what did you have today?
Well, you know what? I'm going to save, in the interest of time, I'll save my blues contribution, and because I want to talk about John Mayall.
Oh,
and
good.
So but there's a lot to unpack there. Got a song that I had never heard before. Ran into it. It's phenomenal. But I'm going to save that.
Okay, good. Well,
excuse me. I do have one thing to say. Sorry, I had to cough there, but and so I muted myself. I had a little bit too much of a revelatory Christmas season. I came down with something, but here we are. I want to give a shout out to my son-in-law Brian Mulrooney, who is a pilot for Delta. He flies the big guys over to Europe. He flies to Amsterdam and Paris. and is a terrific guy and a very thoughtful, very thoughtful guy. My kids are very thoughtful about Christmas gifts that they give Chrissy and me, and they all are. This particular one, as long as we're talking about booze and blues, you can get. I opened up his personal present to me on Christmas Day, and it was a bottle of Blanton's.
Ooh.
And I was just so impressed. He went to I think he was in Paris. He said, "Yeah, you can get it in Paris, and it's not the same price as in the United States." And he bought me he brought me back a bottle of Blanton's, which I thought was really cool. And Christmas night I had a little. I had a little sample, and it says it's actually the gold version. It's really something. So I thought you guys would get, and LaVelle in particular would get a kick out of your boy here get a bottle of gold Blanton's. It's very good.
Fantastic. Well, now we have
to see it.
We have John Mayle stories to look forward to. I have actually something I want to talk about, believe it or not, about wine glasses for a future episode. Also hoping the Twins make some news and make this an interesting offseason. We'll keep you updated on the ownership situation. We'll also try to figure out where this team could be going if they don't make major changes. For today, hey, check out TalkNorth.com, best sports lineup in town. You probably know already, but Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta, Kevin Gord, John Krasinski, the Viking Update Show, John Millay on Preps, Jeff Diamond on the Vikings, Don Mitchell, Randy Chaver, Mike Grimm, outdoor content. We have some new shows in the works as well. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year, and we will talk to you next week.